Okay, so continuing from where we left off, we were naming our inputs. The last input we named was subject. So we also need to name our email. Where our email would then be email. Our name would also be name. Okay. From there, we then want to proceed to create the next item, which was our db.php. Okay, where we had said in this particular instance we've got this as follows. So we want to recreate these elements as they are. So we copy that section and we paste it there. And the reason why we are copying this as it is, we want to be able to create these variables, okay, where each variable matches the name that we've got. So we've got name, email, subject, message, content, and send, okay, which is going to mean that this changes to name, because this is what we are then posting. This changes to email, that is what we are also posting. This is subject as well, and then the last one is message content, like that. So message content, name, email, and subject are the elements that we'll be working with from our page. So as you can see that we have an if statement, and then we are saying if it's not equal to empty, and we have posted our content, the moment we click on send, we want to be able to send this information. However, we can't actually connect here without calling this to our main page. So what we then need to do is, at this particular instance, or rather before we even start with our HTML, we need to actually call this page to our current PHP page. Okay, so we can then say include once. We then want to have our page, which is db connect .php. I think we need to have it in quotation so that it gives us that, like that. So we want to include this one so that we call this particular page. So that's how we work with our pages. We're then saying, as we have db connect, which is a separate page which will contain PHP, we want to call that page to the contact page. And when we have called it to the contact page, it then can be able to set an example for what we are hoping to use here. Okay, so as it stands, we've got our startup of the content. So if you remember, we had message. We still haven't gotten what message is, but we'll get to what message is in a moment, because we're still building up our page as we go. Okay, so these are our variables, which is name, email, subject, and content, and this is what we want to be posting in those particular variables. Okay, we then want to create our connection, which is the following. So I copy that, I come here and I paste, but I'd want to put it in line like that. Okay, so everything else remains exactly the same, although we want to be able to do the following. So I'll put comments and state that root localhost this is our website. Root is our user. Test is our password. And then blog samples is our database. Okay, so we want to match the content with what we already have. So already we're on localhost, which is fine, and that's what we need to use. We need localhost, we need the name of the database. So we just simply change the following. We don't have a password, so we leave that as empty, and then the database is the one we've got here, which is Samsung DB. Okay, Samsung DB, which then means we can be able to at least use this as our connection. If this is not true, then we are supposed to get an error and then it fails. So we will have an MySQL LI error, which will then stop everything from proceeding. Okay, we then get to the next line, which is what we want to do now. We want to insert the elements. Okay, the elements we want to enter should also match with the content in the database. So here's how we'll do it. I'll just copy this as it is, and then we'll correct it to suit our framework. Okay, so I click on paste, and then this is what we've got. We want to be able to put a query where it gets our connection. We want to insert into table contact, which is table contact is what we've got here. It's the same element that we've got. However, we've got a different set of values. We've got a username, a user email, a subject, and a content. Okay, which are supposed to be names in our database. So what do we have in our database? In our database, we've got contact name, contact email, subject, email message. So those are the things that we then now need to see in our database. So for contact name, in this particular instance, it's username. The next one should be contact email. The next one should be the subject. I think subject is subject, and then the last one should be email message. So we come here and we change that bit and we put it as email message, like that. So we're then wanting to insert using our query. So my SQLi query, we've got our connection. We want to insert into TBL contact, contact name, contact email, subject, email message, and then the values that we want to enter, which will be the name, the email, and the subject. So if we've got that in order, and bear in mind I did not change the name here. The reason why I did not change the name here is it's exactly the variable that we've got there for our name. Okay, and I think this is actually wrong. We need to remove that. Okay, so that is name, email, subject, and we've got everything in order. Okay, so let's proceed and do the next bit, which is we want to insert this into the database. So we simply put insert ID into our connection. Like that. And this doesn't change because we are creating a variable that we want to insert the content in the database. And then after that, we just need our message and our type. Okay. We click on copy. We come here. We paste. Although I might be moving a bit fast because you guys are copying what I'm doing. So I'll try and reduce the pace a bit. Okay. So after this, we should be good to go. As it stands, we should definitely be good to go. Okay, so we've got our code somewhat running. Let's just test in our page and see if we've got everything that we need. We might have an error. Okay, doesn't seem like it. Okay, I was hoping that we might see an error, but doesn't seem like it. I think we've put everything in the perfect order. Okay, so after this, we've got our connection set up. Now we want to have a few things set up where we would want to make whatever the user enters to be put into the database. That's the next stage that we're working. Okay, so we want to change a few things for our content. As you can see, for our message, we've got something that's a little bit different from what we've got, and we've got a text area, which I think would suit better than an inbox or like an input box, where I think to change that, we'll simply do the following. This code will still want it, so let's just put a text area. And our text area should be able to do the following. Okay, so we need I'd actually not realized that I was doing the wrong thing. I'm only realizing now that I need to change something. We definitely did the wrong thing. My mistake, and apologies for that. We already had a name value, but since we had already put our content in the manner that we have, let's actually just remove the first name that we had. In essence, we were repeating what we're doing, but that was my mistake. I had not actually noticed that. Okay, so I think this line we don't need anymore. I'm only realizing it now after I was changing some stuff. So that's how it works when you're working with code. You always need to be on point. You may forget certain things, but that's how it works. So I think I'll need the rows and the columns, and I'll put it there in our text area so that at least we see a different setup. Okay, so if I click on save and I just refresh, you actually then realize that my message input has changed to that. Okay, so at least that's one element I wanted to change. However, let's proceed with the next bit that we want to do. Okay, the next bit we want to do now is we want to also create this page. Okay, this page will pretty much ensure that our email is sent to the right email address, and then we can pretty much work with it to suit what we are hoping to get. Okay, so we need to create a new PHP file that will save as email sent.php. That's what we'll call our PHP file. we're not going to be copying everything exactly as it is. We'll be changing as we proceed. Okay, so we need to have that element in our PHP, and we need to also have that element in our PHP. So the next thing we want to do is we also want to have the same content as we had in the previous PHP page, which was this one. We need the first few elements as they are. Okay, but the only difference would be, I don't think there's a difference. It's exactly the same. Okay, so where it'll be different now is maybe this section here. So I'll just copy the section as it is, and then we will, in fact, let's not copy it. Let's do it like we did last time. We create our variables. So the first variable we want is to email, and then we want the email address. Okay, so the next value is to email, and then we need to put our own email address. Okay, so in this particular instance, it could be an email exactly like this: Samuel Banda 2012 at hotmail.com, something like that. This then becomes the email that is sent this particular message. Okay, at the same time, we also want to copy our headers, which will then give us the from and the name of the person, and then the email setup that we want to have. So I think this will will be okay in the way that it is. So we need mail headers as our variable, and then this will then give us what this will produce as an email. Okay, let me copy it and paste it there so that we can see that mail headers will give us a from, a name, and an email. Okay, from there I think everything else should be fine, because we are hoping to get the same content. Okay, so in essence, here's what we're saying. We want to send our email to Samuel Banda, and we want the email to contain a from, and then the name, and then the email address, and then we want to then check the mail. If this is sent, we want it to send to that email the subject, the content, and the mail headers, and then your email would then have successfully been received, and then you get a success that comes out of this aspect. Okay, so at the same time, we also need to include this file in our original PHP file. So we also say include once, we open and we close brackets, put a semicolon, we put email sent like that .php. Okay, this then means we've connected the two files, this file and that file, to our main page. So if we run our page, we should be able to see what elements we have. So it then tells us there's an unclosed on line 2. Let's see, go to this particular page. Okay, this one. So we need to have a curly bracket that closes that, and if we refresh, okay, perfect, no errors. So that's how we work with our PHP and our HTML, and this would then be the output that we've got. Okay, so in this particular lesson, we've just been copying and pasting, although we need to have an explanation of how this actually improves or works with our content. I think in the next few lessons, we'll try and break down some of the things that we've been doing, because this is what then gives us the output of our contact form. However, we've done it hurriedly. I'll try and explain it in the next lesson, and we'll see how it pretty much works. Because, like I was saying, we are building a PHP page, and we are hoping to get the most out of our learning.